Hello, this is Todd Martin from Solid Shell Security, and I'm back with another video. This one's going to be a little bit different. In the past, most of my videos have been about software. This is going to be a little bit more about hardware because people are always asking what kind of computers. So this is just going to kind of be like my 2 cents on, what kind of computer you should get if you're in the market for getting a computer. And I'm using a very, very cheesy PowerPoint as someone suggested. Choices, usually people have a choice between laptops, desktops, and tablets. Now we're going to look at some pros and cons, and of course this isn't all of them, this is just kind of very basic run through. So laptops, they're good and portable. They offer the power of a desktop. Now I'm going to get a little bit more into that in a moment whenever I talk about tablets, and can run on battery power, so it doesn't always have to be hooked into the wall. Some cons of it is heating issues. Hardware tends to be less stable, especially with video cards or any kind of graphics, because graphics are soldered on, any kind of graphic cards or anything are soldered onto the motherboard. They burn out really easily. You really can't replace those graphic cards. So if you're a gamer, to be honest, laptop is probably the worst thing to go with. You're better off with a desktop. And a lot of times people break the jack on the computer where you plug in the charger. Heating issues, one thing I want to talk about that real quick. If you are a male programmer or somebody that spends a lot of time behind a computer and you're using a laptop, heating issues tend to be a big thing, because if it's sitting on your lap, the heat gets in contact with your genitalia and it leads to lower sperm count and possible sterility. Tablets, they are portable. It's actually supposed to be smaller. It's smaller than a laptop. It's light and fairly fast. Some bad things about it is it does not offer a full OS like a laptop or desktop. There's no keyboard unless you want to spend an extra, I think it's like 100 to 120 bucks for one of those keyboard attachments. And gaming is limited to apps, so like you're probably not going to be playing Call of Duty Black Ops 2 on a tablet right now. One thing that I was talking about back here with laptops is that it offers kind of the power of the desktop. Hardware wise, not really. Software wise, yes, you can run executable files such as .exes. You can program really easily. Tablets are a little bit iffy. Me personally, I don't know anybody who programs on the tablet. I mean, I know that there are ways, but nobody really does it, and it's kind of hard programming on a tablet unless you have that keyboard attachment. But it's good just for general stuff, Facebook, YouTube videos maybe. Alright, desktops. The hardware is very stable. Powerful hardware, a full operating system, and more comfortable for longer periods of times. Although some of the cons of it is stationary and it requires a constant power source that's not a battery. In today's world, everybody's mobile, everybody's all about being able to pick up what they have and go. And unfortunately with desktops, well, there's really no way to have a mobile actual desktop with tower, monitor, keyboard, and mouse that I can think of, unless you put it on like a cart with wheels and wheel it around with you everywhere. A little hot in here. The good thing about desktops whenever it comes to along the lines of stable hardware, like I mentioned with a laptop, your graphics tend to be soldered onto the motherboard. So if you burn out the graphics and you're a gamer, then you're kind of screwed. You basically have to go buy a new laptop or try and get a motherboard for it. New motherboard, which is a pain in the ass. With a desktop, because of the PCI slots and everything, all you gotta do is, if you burn out a graphics card that you have installed in there, you just pull it out and put a new one back in there. Also, heating doesn't tend to be an issue with the desktop at all. For my recommendation, I will always recommend a desktop, especially for developing gaming, graphic design, and for long hours that will be spent at a computer. Even though most of my stuff right now is done off my laptop, that's because I'm leaving soon and I just for some reason haven't had my desktop set up in a long time, but I actually prefer working on a desktop than a laptop. Laptops for basics of Facebook, email, YouTube video, going back and forth to school, work, Barnes and Nobles, whenever you go in there and get you a coffee and a book and want to surf on Facebook while you're reading and drinking coffee. And tablets along the lines for kind of the same purpose. I mean, you can program and do gaming and stuff. It's just in the long run you would be happier with a desktop, because a desktop, you have a desk, you can spread everything out, you can get a keyboard that you like, you can get a mouse that fits to your liking, you can get a monitor that fits to your liking. So it works out a little bit better with a desktop, considering you can kind of like design your own environment a little bit better. Anytime it comes to buying a machine, it's better off to try and get the machine physically in your hands and test it out rather than buy something online. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about different brands and stuff, which I'm going to use Google Images for. First thing I want to talk about, everybody in society today now has the obsession with got to get a MacBook Pro. You go to college, you see MacBook Pros all over the place. Yes, I do own one. Yes, I did buy one because I was planning to go to college. My reason was that way I could have a Unix operating system that plays well with software that the college wants you to have to be able to do stuff like your homework and whatnot. That was my reason. Everybody's got their own little reasons. Honestly, if I know now what I knew back then, I probably would have went with a $1,000 Windows PC and put Linux on it rather than get a MacBook, but I kind of like it. A couple things I want to talk about with the MacBook. Right now, if you're looking to upgrade to Windows 8, you're going to be learning basically a new operating system, because there's a lot of changes with Windows 8 and the upcoming Windows operating system. So basically you're going to be relearning how to use a computer, especially now with all the touchscreen support, and probably within the next 5 or 10 years, every monitor you see in the store will probably be touchscreen. So if you're debating between a Windows PC or a Mac, and the only thing that's holding you back from Mac is, well, I don't want to have to learn a whole new OS. Well, to be honest, you're going to really have to do it with Windows 8 or any newer Windows. There is a design flaw in the MacBook that I didn't think about at the time. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. I'm sorry if anything inappropriate pops up. Oh, that's not the back I was talking about. If I type bottom. Alright, here we go. This is what the bottom of a new Mac looks like. As you can see, with most laptops, there isn't a way for air to escape. After about 30 minutes of being on my laptop, the bottom of it does get really, really hot. And once again, heat plus genitals for males equal possible sterility and lower sperm count. And also, it's just kind of uncomfortable. Like, a lot of times I'll have it on my lap for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then I have to move it to some kind of surface like a desk. Should probably talk about these all-in-one PCs. You guys have seen them now if you've been in a Best Buy or a Walmart, more than likely. All-in-one PCs. They look great. They look cool. I would suggest staying away from them. The problem is everything's all-in-one. There's a lot of heat getting generated, and if something breaks, you really can't fix it. And I really don't know if you can. I haven't taken one apart, so I don't know if there's a way, if there's PCI slots or anything. I really haven't looked at them. I just know that they're not a good idea because they're very, very hard to modify yourself. So if you're a gamer and you're like, well, it'd be awesome to have an all-in-one PC, more likely you're going to have to get one that has a good graphics card built in. If you're a developer, this might be a perfectly okay thing, unless you're doing really, really specific things where you're like building a robot and you have a special PCI card that connects to this robot, or if you're doing crazy stuff like that. But all-in-one PCs, I suggest staying away from. They look nice, they look pretty cool, but they are a pain to fix because everything's cramped into this little slim thing. And the same thing goes with those, I don't think they're Mac Pros, they're iMacs. They look cool, but everything's just squished in there. Also, one thing I will have to say, if you want to do your own customization, especially with like a laptop or like in a case an iMac, if like you decide, because to be honest, let me pull this up, apple.com store. Let's shop Mac here real quick. And I know I'm kind of slamming Mac. I don't mean to, but I'm just being straightforward and honest, especially with everybody out there going crazy over Macs. Alright, a little bit different processor between these two. Memory's doubled, a little bit extra hard drive space. Not really too much of a difference besides the RAM that really matters, besides the processor. And you're not really going to be doing overclocking on a MacBook, or you shouldn't. I read it's not the best thing to do. But basically, to get a little bit extra, you're paying about $300 more. And over here you have the Retina display. If you are just set on buying a MacBook, don't go with Retina display. You're wasting your money for extra shit you don't need. The internet isn't built right now. It's not set up in a way to really support a Retina display type system. The Retina system is really only good if you're like doing gaming or if you're programming or watching movies. That's the only thing it's good for. Plus, not only that, I don't have Retina display, and I'm happy with the display on my MacBook. And also, if you shop Mac, or go to the store here, I don't know, kind of bouncing around. For Mac, I think it's memory. Well, from the Mac store, you can buy 8 gigabytes of RAM. Complete waste of money, in my opinion. Whenever they're selling it 2 4 gig sticks of DDR3 for $100, whenever you can go into Best Buy and get the same RAM for $50 and install it yourself. But the problem with it is you void your warranty. Let's go over this. If you're dead set, if you're a gamer dead set on a laptop, there is one laptop that I would recommend in the Asus department that I have looked at. Just keep in mind that I advise desktops for gaming and not all-in-one desktops. Get an actual tower. Preferably build your own. In this gaming powerhouse series, I'm just going to go with this one. This one's a little bit cheaper one. I think I saw it in Best Buy for like $1,000. The really cool thing about these Asus ones right here, if you notice, the back is kind of big and bulky, but there's a fan right here and there's a fan right here. So how it works is one fan is pulling in air, the other one is blowing out air. So it does really good on airflow for a laptop. So you really shouldn't have an issue with it overheating too much. But the battery life on this thing does suck. As soon as you take it off the charger, the performance drops drastically, which is kind of bad. And it's also got a backlit keyboard. This is actually what I was thinking about buying instead of a MacBook Pro, and I honestly should have done it. Alright. It's going to be a long video. Pulling up Tiger Direct. There's also Newegg. I personally prefer Tiger Direct for some reason. If you're a gamer and you're looking for a good rig, I always suggest a desktop and build your own. Well, from Newegg, I think Amazon also does it, Tiger Direct does it. You can get what's called these bare bones kit, which is like a case, a processor, a motherboard, and a hard drive, and sometimes RAM, sometimes a CD player. They're all kind of different. They tend to be a little bit cheaper and have some good system specs, and the only thing you have to do is buy a video card, get it in the mail, and put it all together yourself. Building your own computer, picking out the parts and everything tends to be a whole lot cheaper than buying one. Like you go to Alienware and buy a desktop, you're going to spend like at least $1,000 to get a good one. You could probably build that same PC for half the cost, and a lot of times it's because you're paying for that liquid cooling, which is nice, but you really don't need it as long as you got a good enough fan. If you go spend $50 on a fan instead of $200 on a good liquid cooling unit, you should be fine. You're paying for like lights and a really cool looking case. If you don't really care about the case, or take something basic like this case right here, then it's going to be cheaper, and you can build what would be like an Alienware $2,000 computer for like 700 bucks. Tablets I'm not really gonna touch on today. Besides, I think I said what I need to say. Every single program you get is basically going to have to be downloaded from the App Store, which sucks. Programming, it sucks. I wouldn't do it. The only thing that I can see coming up here soon is with Ubuntu phone, maybe changing my outlook towards that. Yeah, you can't customize anything on your phone really besides storage by throwing in an SD card, but maybe the Ubuntu phone will offer some, like us developers, us guys that do programming, the ability to have a mobile world programming machine. Because with the Ubuntu phones, you're supposed to be able to hook it up into your computer and it works just like a desktop. It actually shows the Ubuntu desktop operating system, and then you take it and then you unhook it, and then it goes back to being a phone operating system. So maybe that'll change how I look at things and my recommendations, but trying to think if there's anything else. Also, whenever you're building your own rig, I actually might do a little video series just talking about information of what to take into consideration when actually building your own rig. Intel, AMD processors. AMD tends to be cheaper. It tends to be half the cost of an Intel processor, and there are AMD processors which are just as good as Intel processors. So my suggestion would be go with AMD if you do decide to build your own rig, because the processors tend to be at least half the cost. So that's it for this video, and hopefully I'll make one soon.